The screen door slammed like a gunshot in the still evening air of Ridge Valley, Texas, shattering the fragile peace Margaret Harper had clung to all afternoon. Elijah's voice cracked through the dust-choked porch, raw and unyielding. "Ma, I can't keep pretending anymore. I'm gay, and that's who I am." In that instant, her world fractured, the Bible on the kitchen table suddenly heavier than the weight of her son's gaze, as if the words she'd whispered in prayer for years had turned to ash in her mouth. Margaret's hands trembled as she set down the half-peeled potato, the knife clattering against the scarred oak counter. The kitchen smelled of simmering chili and regret, the kind that had been building since Elijah was a boy, all scraped knees and dreams of riding bareback across the endless Harper Ranch pastures. She was 52, her face a map of sun-faded lines from decades under that relentless Texas sky, her salt and pepper hair pulled into a bun that held the world together. Ridge Valley wasn't a place for secrets. It was a town of 2 stoplight Sundays and church suppers where folks knew your sins before you confessed them. And now, her eldest son, her golden boy, the one who'd fix fences at dawn and quote psalms at youth group, had just handed her one that felt like a betrayal of everything holy. "Elijah James Harper," she said, her voice a whisper at first, then sharpening like a plow blade through clay. "You don't mean that. It's a phase like that time you wanted to run off to Austin and play guitar instead of helping with the calves. We'll pray on it. Pastor Reynolds, he knows folks who've been confused, fixed even." He stood there in the doorway, his 6-foot frame filling the space like a shadow she couldn't outrun. At 28, Elijah had the build of a man who'd wrestled steers and heartbreak in equal measure. Broad chest under a worn chambray shirt, jeans faded from ranch work, boots caked with the red dirt that defined their bloodline. His hazel eyes, so like his late father's, flickered with a pain that twisted her gut. "Ma, it's not confusion. I've known since I was 16. Hiding it is killing me. I love you, but I can't live like this anymore." The words hung between them, thicker than the summer humidity seeping through the screen. Margaret crossed the linoleum in 2 strides, grabbing his arm as if she could pull the truth back into him. "The Lord don't make mistakes, son, but the devil whispers lies. We'll get you help. Real help." Her mind raced to the pamphlets she'd seen at the county fair last month. Those earnest women in modest dresses talking about realignment therapy, promising to realign the soul like a crooked fence post. It was for people like him, they said, lost boys who strayed. Elijah pulled away gently, his touch lingering like an apology. "I'm leaving, Ma. Heading to Seattle. Got a job lined up at a construction firm. Honest work, fresh start. Seattle." The word tasted foreign, like city rain instead of prairie dust. It was where his cousin Levi had vanished 2 years ago, chasing some tech dream and never looking back. Margaret's chest tightened. "You can't just run. This is home. You're home." But he was already turning, grabbing the duffel bag by the door, the one stuffed with jeans, a few dog-eared books of poetry he'd hidden under his mattress, and the silver cross necklace she'd given him for his 18th birthday. As he stepped into the twilight, the gravel crunching under his boots, she called after him, her voice breaking for the first time. "Elijah, please, let me fix this. For you. For us." He paused at his old Ford pickup, the one his dad had left him, rust creeping along the fenders like veins of doubt. "You can't fix what ain't broken, Ma." The engine roared to life, headlights cutting through the gathering dark, and he was gone, taillights fading like embers in the wind. Margaret sank onto the porch steps, the Bible forgotten inside. The ranch stretched out before her, acres of mesquite and memory, the distant lowing of cattle a lullaby turned lament. She'd raised 3 boys alone after Harlan's heart gave out 10 years back, pouring every ounce of love into keeping the Harper name standing tall. Elijah, the steady one, the protector. How had she missed it? The way he'd linger too long watching the rodeo riders, or how his smiles never quite reached his eyes at the county dances. Guilt clawed at her, but beneath it, a fierce resolve bloomed. She wouldn't lose him to some coastal sin city. Not her boy. 2 weeks later, a package arrived at the Seattle address Elijah had scrawled on a scrap of paper. Faded jeans and a note that read, "Wear these when you miss home." Inside, tucked between the folds, was a brochure from the Covenant Restoration Center in Dallas. Smiling testimonials, verses underlined in red. "Come home, son," she'd written on the back. "Let us make you whole." Elijah tossed it into the recycling bin of his cramped Capitol Hill apartment, the city skyline mocking him through the rain-streaked window. Seattle was a blur of gray skies and green evergreens, a far cry from Texas heat. The construction job paid enough for rent and ramen, but the ache of leaving, of that final look in his mother's eyes, followed him like a shadow. He was free, but freedom tasted like solitude. That Friday, nursing a beer at a dive bar called the Rusty Anchor, he met Finn Whitaker. Finn slid onto the stool next to him, all easy charm and ocean blue eyes. His dark hair tousled like he'd just rolled out of bed after a storm. 26, a graphic designer from Portland who'd washed up in Seattle chasing freelance gigs and fleeting connections. "You look like you could use a story that doesn't end in heartbreak," Finn said, his voice warm as aged whiskey, clinking his glass against Elijah's. They talked until last call about nothing and everything. Finn's laugh cut through the din, pulling Elijah from his shell. By midnight, they were stumbling into the rain-slick streets, shoulders brushing, the electric hum of possibility crackling between them. Finn's hand found Elijah's under the awning of a coffee shop, tentative at first, then sure. "I've been waiting for someone who feels like home," Finn murmured, and Elijah's heart stuttered, the cross necklace burning against his skin like a brand. Back at the apartment, clothes shed like old skins, their bodies moved with a hunger born of too many lonely nights. Finn's touch was reverent, tracing the scars on Elijah's knuckles from barbed wire and buried secrets. In the afterglow, tangled in sheets that smelled of salt and pine, Elijah whispered his story. The coming out, the flight, the brochure that still haunted his trash can. Finn listened, fingers weaving through Elijah's hair. "Your mom's scared, man. But you're not broken. You're just you." For the first time in years, Elijah believed it. Mornings blurred into weekends. Lazy brunches at Pike Place, hikes up to Discovery Park where Finn sketched Elijah against the sound, capturing the way sunlight gilded his profile. Love crept in quietly, like fog off the water. Finn's playlists of indie folk that echoed Elijah's hidden poetry. The way he'd hum old Hank Williams tunes while frying eggs. It was messy, real. A far cry from the polished fantasies of apps and one-nights. But the past doesn't stay buried. 3 months in, Margaret's calls escalated from weekly check-ins to daily pleas. "Pastor says there's a retreat in Austin next month. Testimonies from men just like you. Saved, married, with families." Elijah's grip tightened on the phone, Finn's concerned gaze from across the room. "Ma, I'm happy here. With someone. A man I love." Silence stretched, then a sob that pierced him deeper than any rejection. "Lord have mercy, Elijah. What have I done wrong?" She hung up, and he stared at the receiver, the weight of her despair settling like lead. Finn pulled him close that night, their lovemaking fierce and anchoring. "She's fighting for what she thinks is right," Finn said later, tracing patterns on Elijah's back. "But love isn't a battlefield. It's a bridge." Elijah wanted to believe him, but doubt whispered in the quiet hours. What if she was right? What if this Finn, the city, the openness was just another phase, a rebellion against the ranch's call? He buried it, but it festered, a thorn in the flesh. The autumn leaves in Seattle turned the parks into fire, mirroring the slow burn in Elijah's chest as Thanksgiving loomed. He'd invited Finn to Ridge Valley, a olive branch wrapped in turkey and tension, but Margaret's response, a curt family only, had sliced it clean. Instead, they hosted a makeshift feast in the apartment. Finn's Portland-sourced cranberry relish, Elijah's lopsided pumpkin pie from a YouTube tutorial, and a bottle of bourbon that loosened tongues and truths. "Tell me about her," Finn said over candlelight flickering against brick walls, the city hum a distant lullaby. "Your mom. Not the phone version, the real one." Elijah swirled his glass, the amber liquid catching the glow. Memories flooded. Margaret's hands, calloused from mending harnesses, braiding his hair after a fever at 7. Her voice singing Amazing Grace over bathwater suds. The way she'd held him through Harlan's funeral, whispering, "We're Harpers, we bend, but we don't break." "She's fierce," he said finally. "Love's like a wildfire, but that love has got edges now. Sharp ones." Finn nodded, his blue eyes steady. "My folks bailed when I came out at 18. Dad called it a lifestyle choice and handed me bus fare to anywhere but here. Mom just cried. I get the edges." He reached across the table, thumb brushing Elijah's wrist. But you're building something here. With me. Don't let her pull you under. That night, as rain pattered the roof like impatient fingers, they made love with a tenderness that bordered on ache. Finn's body was a map Elijah memorized, the freckles dusting his shoulders like stars, the curve of his hip where Elijah's hand fit perfectly. I love you, Finn breathed against his neck. Words Elijah echoed back, tasting like promise. But promises crack under pressure. The following week, a letter arrived, postmarked Dallas. Inside, a plane ticket to Texas and a note in Margaret's looping script. The center has a spot for you. 1 week. Come home, son. Let me help you see the light. Clipped to it was a photo of the ranch at dawn. Golden light bathing the corral where Elijah had once dreamed of forever. He crumpled it, but the image lingered. Work dragged, hammering beams on a high-rise downtown, the city's pulse mocking his turmoil. Finn noticed the distance, the way Elijah's laughs rang hollow. Talk to me, he urged one evening, as they walked the waterfront, ferries cutting wakes in the dusk. I'm scared, Elijah admitted, voice low against the gull's cries. What if she's right? What if this us is just running from God, from family? Finn stopped, turning him by the shoulders, rain beating on his lashes. Faith isn't a cage, Elijah. It's not about fixing what's wrong. It's about grace. And love? That's the purest grace there is. He kissed him then, slow and deep, salt mingling with sea air, grounding Elijah in the now. Emboldened, Elijah called her. Ma, I'm not going to the center, but I'll come home. For Christmas. Alone so we can talk. Real talk. Her relief flooded the line. A dam breaking. Oh son, that's all I ask. Prayer changes things. He hung up, heart pounding. Finn held him through the doubts. Their nights a refuge of whispered affirmations and bodies entwined. But as December's chill deepened, Elijah packed for Texas. The cross necklace heavy around his neck. A talisman or a chain, he couldn't decide. Ridge Valley welcomed him with open arms and prying eyes. The town square twinkled with lights, the air crisp with pine from wreaths on every lamppost. Margaret enveloped him at the door, her hug fierce, scented with vanilla and vanilla extract from holiday baking. My boy, she murmured, holding on too long. His brothers, Wyatt and Mason, clapped him on the back. Wyatt, the middle one at 25, all easy grins and ranch grit. Mason, 22, still gangly with dreams of veterinary school. Dinner was a feast. Brisket slow-cooked to perfection, cornbread steaming, stories flowing like the pecan pie's molasses. But undercurrents swirled. Margaret's eyes darted to his hands, as if searching for rings or signs of surrender. How's the city treating you? She asked, passing the gravy. Fine. Busy. He omitted Finn, the words sticking like burrs. That night, in his old room, posters of Longhorns faded, bed creaking under his weight. Sleep evaded him. Moonlight slanted through blinds, illuminating the brochure on his dresser. She'd left it there, dog-eared, underlined, Reclaim your true self. Morning brought church, the steeple of First Baptist piercing the fog. Pastor Reynolds preached on prodigal sons, his gaze lingering on Elijah like a summons. Afterward, coffee hour turned interrogation. Heard you're doing big things up north, Mrs. Landry said, her smile syrupy. But nothing beats home, does it? Margaret beamed, but Elijah's jaw tightened. He escaped to the ranch, saddling up old Bess for a ride. The wind whipped his face, mesquite blurring, but peace eluded him. Wyatt joined him at the fence line, rolling a cigarette. Ma's on a mission, bro thinks she's saving your soul. But you look lighter, up there. Elijah exhaled, smoke curling like secrets. I am. Met someone. Makes me feel seen. Wyatt nodded, no judgment in his eyes. Good for you. Just tread light. Ma's got Harlan's stubborn streak. Christmas Eve snow dusted the fields, rare and ethereal. The family gathered by the fire, carols on the radio, Margaret's fruitcake dense with tradition. But as midnight neared, she pulled Elijah aside, into the study lined with Harlan's trophies. Son, she said, voice quivering, I've been praying, and I found this. She pressed a card into his hand. A counselor's from the center, edges worn. One session. For me. Please. The plea in her eyes undid him. Ma, I can't. Tears welled. Then you're choosing that life over us. Over me. The words landed like a slap. He stormed out, boots thudding down the hall, grabbing his coat. In the truck, engine idling, phone in hand, Finn's face lighting the screen. I need you, Elijah said, voice breaking. Come get me. Finn's flight landed at dawn, bleary-eyed but unwavering, renting a car for the haul back. They met in a diner off the interstate, fluorescent lights buzzing over greasy plates. Finn's hand under the table, steady. You don't have to fight alone. Back in Seattle, the new year dawned with tentative mending. Elijah returned the cross to his mother via mail. A note enclosed. This was Dad's love. Mine's different, but just as true. Her reply was silence, then a tentative email. Proud of your strength. Still praying. Spring unfurled, and with it, their love deepened. Finn proposed a road trip, California coast, Big Sur's cliffs mirroring their precipices. They drove with windows down, Finn's sketches piling in the back seat, Elijah's poetry scrawled on napkins. In a Carmel motel, under stars sharp as promises, Finn knelt with a ring, simple silver, etched with grace. Marry me, he said, not to fix anything, just to build. Elijah's yes was a sob, joy and fear entwined. But summer brought storm clouds. Margaret announced a visit. To see your world, son. Understand it. Elijah's pulse raced. Finn's smile faltered but held. Margaret's plane touched down at Seattle-Tacoma under a sky bruised with clouds, her carry-on clutched like a shield. At 53 now, the flight had etched new lines around her eyes, but her posture remained ramrod straight, a Harper through and through. Elijah waited at arrivals, Finn at his side, tall, composed, his graphic tee and chinos a casual armor. The hug was awkward, Margaret's body stiffening at the brush of Finn's hand in greeting. This is Finn, Elijah said, voice steady. My fiancé. Her smile was a flicker, eyes appraising. Pleased. Heard so much. Lies, all of it, but civility was a thin veil. The drive to Capitol Hill wound through evergreens and espresso stands. Margaret's gaze fixed on the blur of joggers and rainbow flags. Quite the change from Ridge Valley, she noted, tone neutral as barbed wire. Elijah gripped the wheel. It's home now. Their apartment bloomed with summer. Ferns on the fire escape. Finn's art prints splashed in color. Dinner was Finn's specialty. Grilled salmon with herb butter, a nod to the sound. Conversation danced. Wyatt's engagement, Mason's vet internship, the ranch's bumper cotton crop. But undercurrents tugged. Margaret's eyes lingered on their joined hands, the casual intimacy of Finn refilling Elijah's wine. Later, over coffee on the balcony, she cornered him. He's nice, son, kind, but is this enough? A life without roots, without legacy. Elijah's throat tightened. Legacy isn't bloodlines, Ma. It's love. Real love. She sipped, steam rising like unspoken prayers. I met with a counselor before coming. Not the center, the kind who listens. Said sometimes love blinds us to truth. The word stung, a hook in old wounds. Finn, sensing the chill, joined them, steering to neutral ground. Seattle's music scene. A Mariners game invite. Margaret softened fractionally, laughing at Finn's impressions of rowdy fans. But nights, in the guest room, Elijah heard her murmur prayers, the rhythm a ghost from childhood. The visit stretched to a week, fault lines widening. A walk in Volunteer Park turned tense when two men kissed under cherry blossoms. Margaret's step faltered, cheeks flushing. In broad daylight, she whispered later, alone with Elijah. Doesn't it shame you? No, he said, fire rising. It frees me. Finn mediated with grace, sharing his own fractured family tales over rooftop picnics. Coming out wasn't a choice, he told her one evening, as dusk painted the skyline violet. It was survival. Elijah saved me, too. Showed me love could be steady, not stormy. Margaret listened, fingers twisting her napkin. Something shifted, a crack in the armor. But betrayal brewed in shadows. Unbeknownst to Elijah, Margaret had confided in Pastor Reynolds via email, seeking guidance. The pastor's reply, forwarded discreetly, urged intervention. Invite him to a faith-based support group in Seattle. Discreet ones exist. Help him reclaim his path. Emboldened, she slipped a flyer under his door one morning. Fellowship for the Seeking, with verses on redemption. Elijah found it at noon, heart plummeting. Confrontation erupted in the kitchen. Finn out on a client call. You came here to understand, not ambush. Tears streaked her face. I came to save you from this delusion. God doesn't make us for that. Finn returned to chaos, arms around Elijah as Margaret fled to her room. That night, lovers clung in silence. Finn's whispers a bomb. She's scared of losing you, but she won't. We'll show her. The visit ended in strained airport goodbyes, Margaret's hug lingering. Think on the fellowship, son. For me. On the flight home, guilt gnawed her. Elijah's pain etched in his eyes, Finn's quiet dignity a mirror to her own failings. Back in Ridge Valley, the ranch felt hollow. Wyatt noticed over fence mending. You pushed too hard, Ma. He's happy. Let him be. She waved it off, but sleep evaded, dreams tangled with Harlan's voice. Love's not about control, Maggie. Desperation peaked. She drove to Dallas, signing up for the center's family seminar. How to Bring Them Back, the title promised. Testimonies from mothers who'd reclaimed sons, through tough love, prayer chains, even staged interventions. Meanwhile, in Seattle, Elijah and Finn's engagement deepened. Rings exchanged in a private ceremony at Alki Beach, waves lapping like applause, friends toasting with craft IPAs. To us, Finn said, kissing salt from Elijah's lips. Life pulsed. Promotions at work, weekend getaways to the Olympics, where they'd hike till exhaustion, collapsing into tents with stars overhead and bodies aligned. But autumn winds carried omens. A call from Mason. Ma's spiraling, bro talking about flying out again with backup. Backup? Elijah's blood chilled. He confided in Finn, who suggested boundaries. Write her. Lay it out, no more fixes. The letter arrived weeks later, penned in the quiet of a rainy afternoon. Ma, your love built me, but it can't cage me. Finn is my choice, my joy. If you can't meet us there, we'll bridge the gap ourselves. But no more flyers, no more flights of fancy. Love, Elijah. Margaret read it by lamplight, tears blurring ink. The center's seminar loomed, but doubt crept. A seed planted by Finn's words, Wyatt's gentle rebukes. She attended, notebook in hand, but the speaker's zeal rang hollow. One mother shared her success. Son cured. Now wed to a woman, 2 kids. But her eyes empty, haunted. He calls sometimes, she admitted. Misses the old days. That night, alone in the seminar motel, Margaret wept for the boy she'd lost. Not to sin, but to her fear. Harlan's photo on her nightstand seemed to nod. Let go, Maggie. Back home. She burned the brochures, ashes scattering on the wind. A tentative email to Elijah. Saw your letter. Thinking. Love you both. Fall turned to winter, their wedding 6 months away. Elijah exhaled, tension easing like a released bowstring. Finn planned meticulously. Venue in a vineyard outside Seattle, vows exchanged under arbors heavy with grapes. Invites went out, family selective, friends abundant. But climax brewed in Texas. Margaret, wrestling her transformation, confided in Pastor Reynolds. Instead of support, he revealed his own secret. A son, long estranged, living openly in Austin. I pushed him away, the pastor admitted over coffee, voice gravel. Lost him to pride. Don't make my mistake. Revelation shattered her. She drove to the center, demanding a refund, voice rising in the lobby. This isn't fixing. It's breaking. Security escorted her out, but the stand felt like reclaiming ground. Christmas cards arrived. One from Elijah and Finn, photo enclosed, arms around each other on a snowy hike, smiles radiant. Wishing you peace, the note read. Margaret framed it beside Harlan's, a new constellation. Spring bloomed, and with it her resolve. She booked a flight, not for intervention but invitation. To the wedding, the email stated. If you'll have me. Elijah's reply was swift. Always, Ma. The vineyard sprawled under Puget Sound's gentle sun, rows of Chardonnay vines whispering in the breeze like secrets shared. Elijah stood in the groom's suite, a converted barn loft, fidgeting with his tie, the mirror reflecting a man remade. Charcoal suit tailored to his rancher's frame, hazel eyes bright with nerves and joy. Finn, in the adjacent room, texted a selfie. Winking amid wildflowers, his navy suit hugging his lean form. Ready to make it official, cowboy? Downstairs, guests milled. Elijah's brothers with dates. Finn's eclectic crew of artists and baristas. A smattering of Seattle liberals who'd become family. Wyatt clapped Elijah's shoulder. Ma's here, bro cornered by Aunt Lila, but holding her own. Margaret. Her arrival that morning had been a quiet earthquake. At the airport, she'd embraced Finn first. Awkward, but earnest, muttering, "You're family now." No sermons, no sidelong glances. Over brunch, she'd asked about his work, his dreams, listening with the intensity of a woman rewriting her script. Now, as strings swelled from a quartet, she sat in the front row, hands folded over a simple bouquet of Texas bluebonnets air shipped in. Her dress was modest floral, hair loose for once, silver threads catching light. When Elijah appeared at the aisle's end, her breath caught, the boy she'd fixed in her mind, now a man, striding toward love unapologetic. Finn waited at the arbor, eyes locking on Elijah's, the world narrowing to that gaze. Vows exchanged were poetry incarnate. Finn's, "You taught me home is a heartbeat, not a horizon." Elijah's, "You saw me whole when I was shattered, my grace, my always." Rings slid on, simple bands engraved with intertwined initials. The kiss, deep, unhurried, drew cheers, Margaret's included, her clap tentative but real. Reception unfolded in laughter and toasts. Mason's ribbing about city slicker in-laws, Finn's best man waxing on their first disastrous hike. Margaret danced with Elijah under fairy lights, her steps light. "I'm proud," she whispered, swaying to a cover of Wonderwall. "Of you, of this. You came," he said, voice thick. "Wouldn't miss my son's joy." A pause. Then, "Forgive an old fool?" "Already did." But beneath the revelry, old ghosts stirred. Uninvited, Pastor Reynolds had emailed Margaret coordinates. A gift, he'd written, attaching a PDF. Last-minute intervention guide. She'd deleted it unread, but doubt's echo lingered. As cake cut and champagne flowed, a stranger approached. Mid-40s, suit crisp, badge glinting subtly. "Mrs. Harper? Name's Dale Whitaker. Pastor sent me. Private word." Her stomach dropped. Whitaker, Finn's surname. No relation, but the coincidence chilled. Dale was from a Seattle support ministry, smooth-talking with a Bible app on his phone. "Your boy's wedding beautiful, but ever think it's a cry for help? We offer discreet counseling. Post-honeymoon, when the high fades." Margaret's hand trembled on her glass. "I think he's found his help. In love." Dale pressed a card. "Pray on it. Families break without action." She pocketed it, nausea rising, fleeing to the vineyards. Alone among vines, she tore it to shreds, wind scattering confetti of regret. How close she'd come, again, to betrayal. Harlan's voice echoed. "Human means messy, Maggie. Embrace it." Elijah found her there, brow furrowed. "Ma, you okay?" She pulled him into a hug, fierce as prairie wind. "More than just realizing how much I almost lost." Tears wet his collar. "Finn, he's good for you. For us." Relief flooded him. "He's everything." Honeymoon called, 2 weeks in Hawaii, trade winds and turquoise waves. They lounged on black sand beaches, snorkeling reefs alive with color, mirroring their renewal. Nights in open-air bungalows, bodies slick with salt and sweat, love a language without words. "Mrs. Whitaker," Elijah teased one dawn, tracing Finn's jaw. "Sounds right." "Harper Whitaker," Finn countered, grinning. "Best of both worlds." Back in Seattle, life wove tighter. Shared apartment expanded to a cozy queen and craftsman. Finn's studio blooming with commissions. Elijah's crew chief promotion bringing stability. They adopted a mutt from the shelter, Rusty, all wiry fur and wagging loyalty, symbol of their patched-together home. Margaret's transformation rippled. She hosted Elijah's brothers for a pride barbecue in Ridge Valley. Rainbow flags fluttering beside the American. Awkward at first, but laughter won out. Wyatt brought his fiancée, a no-nonsense nurse who cornered Margaret. Love's love. End of story. Mason, ever the softy, shared coming-out fears of his own. Not gay, but adrift in identity. You taught us grace, Ma. Now live it. She volunteered at the local library, curating LGBTQ plus memoirs. For understanding, she told nosy patrons. Pastor Reynolds stepped down after his son's public reconciliation. Margaret attended his farewell, offering quiet absolution. We all stumble, she said. Yet conflict simmered distant. Dale, undeterred, emailed Elijah anonymously. Your mother's seeking help. Don't let her suffer alone. Attached, screenshots of her seminar sign-up, twisted to imply relapse. Rage boiled. Elijah confronted her by phone, voice steal. Ma, what's this? Another fixer. Silence, then sobs. It was before, son. Months ago. I ended it. Swear. Proof poured. Her deletion logs, forwarded from a tech-savvy Wyatt. I chose you, she wept. Over fear. The betrayal, not hers, but the system's, ignited Elijah. He channeled it into advocacy. Speaking at a Seattle Pride panel, voice steady on stages that once terrified him. My mother tried to fix me, he shared, Finn's hand in his. But love fixed us both. Finn beamed, pride swelling. Their intimacy deepened, lazy Sundays tracing tattoos. Finn's new sleeve of vines and stars, Elijah's subtle rainbow on his rib, travels to Portland for art fairs, dreams of fostering kids one day. Summer solstice brought peak. A family reunion in Ridge Valley, Harper's and Whitaker's mingling under string lights. Margaret toasted at the bonfire. To family, not blood, but chosen. To being human, flawed, fierce, free. Elijah pulled her aside later, stars wheeling overhead. You taught me that, Ma. In the end. Her smile crinkled eyes. No, son. You taught me. Fall's amber hues painted Seattle's streets. But for Elijah, the season carried undercurrents of unrest. The anonymous emails persisted, Dale's handiwork, veiled threats of exposing family secrets to Ridge Valley gossips. Protect your mother, one read, or lose her legacy. Paranoia crept. Nights, he'd wake to Finn's even breaths, but sleep evaded, ghosts of rejection clawing back. Finn noticed, over morning coffee amid Rusty's enthusiastic tail wags. We fight this together, he insisted, blue eyes fierce. Block him, report it, but don't let it steal our now. Elijah nodded, but resolve hardened. He traced Dale to the ministry, a nondescript office in a strip mall, facade of compassion masking control. Confrontation brewed. He drove there alone, Finn's warnings echoing. The parking lot baked under noon sun, Elijah's truck a Texas relic amid sedans. Dale met him in the lobby, all false warmth. Elijah, here for guidance. For you to back off. Voice low, controlled. My family's off limits. Dale's smile thinned. Just helping. Your mother's journey. It's inspiring. But relapses happen. Elijah leaned in, hazel eyes stormlit. She's done journeying your way. And if you contact us again, it's lawyers. Or worse. The threat landed. Dale paled, mumbling platitudes. Driving back, whined through the window, Elijah exhaled. Victory small, but solid. He confessed to Margaret that evening, video call flickering her kitchen. It's over, Ma. But, thank you, for choosing us. Her nod was weary wisdom. Chose myself too. Finally. Winter deepened their bond. Holiday cards multiplied. From Levi, Elijah's long-lost cousin, now an uncle in Austin. From Finn's estranged sister, thawing with a congrats on the forever. They hosted a solstice party. Eggnog spiked, lights twinkling, Rusty decked in a bow tie. Amid carols and confessions, Elijah proposed a family pact. Annual retreats. No agendas, just presence. Spring 2026 bloomed with promise. Finn's gallery show in Pioneer Square featured a series, Bridges, canvases of fractured skies mending into horizons, inspired by Elijah's poetry. Opening night buzzed. Margaret flew in, dressed sharp, critiquing frames with surprising insight. Reminds me of the ranch at dawn, she said, arm linked with Finn's. Elijah watched, heart full. Later, in the green room, Finn pulled him close. This is us, art and ache, all woven. Intimacy that night was electric, bodies familiar yet rediscovered. Finn's hands mapping scars anew, Elijah's lips tracing vows into skin. Forever starts here, Finn gasped, climax a shared supernova. But climax loomed larger. Margaret's health faltered. A routine check revealing early arthritis. Ranch work's toll. Nothing major, she downplayed, but Elijah heard the strain. He and Finn planned a visit, packing care packages of heating pads and herbal teas. Ridge Valley greeted with wildflowers rioting hillsides. The ranch hummed. Wyatt and his wife expecting, Mason knee-deep in foals. Margaret moved slower, but her laugh rang true over barbecue. Evenings, porches sagged under stories, Harlan's ghost tales, Finn's city absurdities. One dusk, as cicadas chorused, she confessed fully. After the wedding, I dreamed of you as a boy, chasing fireflies, free. Woke knowing I'd clipped your wings. Tears traced canyons in her cheeks. Forgive me, sons. Both of you. Finn knelt before her chair, taking her hands. Nothing to forgive. You raised a man who loves without limits. That's grace. Elijah joined, trio entwined. We're whole because of you, Ma. Summer's heat peaked in revelation. A letter from the center arrived, apology of sorts, amid lawsuits from families like theirs. Margaret read it aloud, voice steady, then burned it in the fire pit. End of an era. Their love, too, evolved, exploring boundaries with trust. A weekend kink retreat in the Cascades, ropes and whispers teaching vulnerability's thrill. Finn's dominance gentle, Elijah's surrender profound. You own me, he murmured post-scene, aftercare a cocoon of lotions and lullabies. Fall brought harvest. Finn's book deal for Bridges illustrations paired with Elijah's verses. Launch in a cozy bookstore, rain pattering windows, Margaret front row, buying 10 copies. For the church ladies, she winked. Subtle conversion. Conflict's embers flared once more. Wyatt's wedding invite sparked town whispers. Old-timers eyeing Elijah's ring. But Margaret quashed them. Speech at the reception, arm around Finn. My sons, plural, show us love's many faces. Raise a glass to that. Elijah's pride swelled, tears pricking. Later, dancing with Finn under lanterns, he whispered, You turned the tide. We did, Finn replied, kiss sealing it. As leaves turned, they discussed future. Fostering, yes, teens adrift, mirrors of their youths. Applications filed, hearts open. Winter's eve, snow blanketing the sound. They stood on their porch, rusty at feet. To humanity, Finn toasted with cocoa. Messy, miraculous. Elijah clinked mugs. To love's lessons. The fostering license arrived on a crystalline March morning, paper crisp as new beginnings. Elijah and Finn poured over it at the kitchen table, Rusty's head on Elijah's knee, tail thumping Morse code excitement. Their home study had been a gauntlet. Interviews probing scars, home visits appraising warmth, but approval felt like absolution. First kid in summer, the social worker promised. A boy 15. Needs steady. Elijah's mind flashed to his own 15. Closeted terror in a bunk bed, prayers pleading for change. We'll be that steady, he vowed, Finn's gnawed ceiling. Margaret's updates buoyed them. Arthritis managed with yoga, her new vice, via YouTube, ranch thriving under Wyatt's hand. She even joined a book club devouring queer lit, tough reads, she'd email, but eye-opening. Finn replied with recommendations, their correspondence a bridge of banter and book spines. Spring swelled with anticipation. They prepped the spare room. Navy walls, shelves of comics and journals, a rainbow flag subtle on the curtain. Elijah's construction crew built a treehouse in the backyard, Finn painting murals of starry escapes. Intimacy anchored the weight, nights fierce with need, bodies a rehearsal for giving. The boy arrived in June. Theo Lang, lanky with defiant curls and eyes like storm clouds, dropped off by a caseworker amid unpacked duffels. 16 now, history a litany of foster flops, runaways, rages, a coming out that burned bridges. Don't get attached, he muttered, slouching on the couch. I'm out by 18. Finn knelt to his level, no pity in his gaze. We're not going anywhere. Burgers for dinner. Theo shrugged, but stayed. Meals turned ritual. Elijah's grilled specials, Finn's playlists easing silences, walks with Rusty Coke's stories, Theo's art sketches hidden in notebooks, dreams of graphic novels dashed by doubt. Elijah saw himself, the guarded glances, the flinch at affection. One evening, after a schoolyard scrap, whispers of fag echoing, Theo exploded in the kitchen. You don't get it. Everyone wants to fix me, therapists, group homes. I'm broken. Okay? Elijah pulled him into a hug, unyielding. You're not broken, kid. You're bent, like a bow, ready to launch. Theo stiffened, then sagged, sobs racking. Finn joined, trio tangled in release. Margaret visited in July, bearing Texas care packages. Pecan brittle, a quilt stitched with bluebonnets. Theo eyed her warily. Grandma type, but warmed over checkers, her stories of Elijah's mischief disarming. He once freed all the chickens. Chaos for days. Laughter bubbled, barriers crumbling. She confided in Elijah later, porch swing creaking. Seeing you with him, it's like watching Grace in action. You too, you're mending what I cracked. You're part of it, Ma. Always. Finn's exhibit toured, bridges in galleries from Portland to San Francisco. Theo tagged along to one, wide-eyed at crowds. You made this? He asked Finn, fingering a canvas. From real hurt. From healing it, Finn replied. Theo's sketches bloomed, shared hesitantly. Elijah framed one, a figure crossing a chasm on vines. That's you, the boy said shyly. And him. Fall's equinox marked a year since the wedding. They celebrated quietly. Hike to Rattlesnake Ledge, picnic of Finn's charcuterie, vows renewed under Hawk's wheeling. To Theo, Elijah added, our bridge. Winter whispered changes. Theo's permanency hearing loomed. Adoption papers drafted. But shadows gathered. Dale's ministry sued for coercion. Headlines splashing. Elijah testified remotely, voice unflinching. They prey on fear. My family broke free. Margaret followed suit, her deposition a quiet thunder. I was desperate. They exploited it. But love, real love, doesn't fix. It frees. Verdict. Settlement. Shutdown. News rippled to Ridge Valley. Church apologies flowed. Pastor Reynolds' successor preaching inclusion. Theo's hearing dawned crisp. Courtroom sterile, but their row a fortress. Elijah's steady grip. Finn's sketchpad doodling encouragements. Margaret's handkerchief embroidered with strength. Judge's gavel fell. Guardianship granted. Path to adoption clear. Theo's grin split wide. Hugs ferocious. Family, he tested, word foreign yet fitting. Spring 2027 erupted in growth. Theo thrived art classes. First boyfriend, a shy poet named Kai. From tucks borrowed from Elijah. They navigated curfews gentle, talks on consent raw. Margaret retired partially, selling acreage to fund travels. First stop, Seattle for Theo's birthday, cake layered with nostalgia. To new chapters, she toasted. Elijah and Finn's love, tempered, shone deeper. Anniversaries marked with tattoos. Matching vines on wrists, roots intertwining. Lovemaking a symphony. Slow builds to crescendos, afterglows pondering futures. More fosters, perhaps a bio kid via surrogate. Climax crested in crisis. Margaret's fall on the ranch, hip fracturing. Elijah flew solo, Finn minding Theo. Hospital beeps, her face pale but smirking. Told you yoga's overrated. Recovery bonded. Weeks in Seattle, her room commandeered for stories. Remember when I tried to fix you? She rasped one night, morphine soft. Elijah chuckled. Best mistake ever. No mistake. Led here. Her hand in his, Finn's on her shoulder. Theo peeking in with drawings. My humans. Discharge brought her home mended. Spirit unbroken. Wyatt's baby arrived. A girl, Harper Lee, Margaret doting via video. Summer solstice. Full circle. Bonfire in Ridge Valley. Families merged. Theo strummed guitar. Kai harmonizing. Mason toasted adoptions pending. Margaret, cane tapping, pulled Elijah aside. You taught me being human means letting go. Loving wide. He hugged her. Tears salt on skin. We learned together. As stars pricked velvet sky, Finn found him, hand slipping into his. Ready for more? Always, Elijah breathed. Their story, a tapestry of fractures and fixes, wove on human, heartfelt, horizon-bound.